Thank you, Mr Acting President. I rise to support the honourable member's motion to pay recognition to those who have fought for women's rights to advance the status of women. And I acknowledge that while there has been significant progress in removing discrimination and gender bias, the work still remains to bridge a gap where gender equality remains present. Now, as a proud husband to my wonderful wife Elle, fathers to my daughter Neve and Piper, and brother to sister, the member for Adelaide Lucy, International Women's Day does offer an important opportunity to reflect on the hugely positive effect women have had in my life. As I've mentioned before, Elle is an RN midwife and came to her calling in that role after being inspired by the birth of our first daughter, Neve. And I cannot walk down the street in Mount Gambier without Elle being stopped and greeted by young mums who Elle has helped to deliver their children into the world. My sister Lucy, who I'm immensely proud of, even though she fell in with the wrong crowd, is one of the most dedicated and conscientious people I know. Her relentless hard work during the 2022 election campaign is now the gold standard. My mum Penny, who was a stay-at-home parent on the farm when we were kids, cooking her amazing desserts and roast lunches for the shearers at shearing time. Those women who choose to stay at home to raise their families should be celebrated just as much as those women who choose to follow their career dreams. Mum went on to change many senior Australians' lives for the better at Longridge Retirement Village, and my grandmothers Bobby and Lois were massive influences on me, most especially in the lessons they taught me about the world, about science and nature, and that complaining about your lot in life is useless and only hard work and perseverance will give you a good life regardless of your gender. In recognising the work that still must be done in terms of progression of women in society, we cannot forget about the scourge of domestic violence, as the honourable member outlines in this motion. 70% of Australian women have experienced physical or sexual violence in their lifetime, and the trend does not appear to be heading in the right direction. The data shows a steady increase in domestic violence orders over the past few years, with the ABS finding a 13% increase in family and domestic violence and sexual assaults. The figures appallingly show that 5,700 cases of DV were reported in 2021, which is a growth of 2,000 cases in just 3 years. As a father of 2 girls, the above figures are gravely concerning, and it is of vital importance that Australian men show through their actions and their words that the respecting and valuing of women is what good men do. And as my honourable colleague has just outlined in her speech, I acknowledge the good work that the previous Liberal government has done regarding domestic violence. In our current political climate, which supports the progression of women, it is important that we acknowledge that women remain disadvantaged by entrenched and outdated ideologies throughout the world, and we should also seek to improve the rights of women wherever they may live. One of the most notable areas of progression when it comes to gender equality is improvement in the workforce. Australia has come a long way since women were excluded from the right to vote, the right to work and allowed access to higher education. Without movements and strikes that fought for gender equality, South Australia's workforce would be much less of value and far worse off. But whilst we seek to make those improvements, it is vital that we do not force this change by seeing women as targets or quotas to be met. I acknowledge my Liberal colleagues in this place, where 6 of our 8 MLCs are women who are elected on merit and have contributed significantly to our state. Equality cannot be achieved by ticking a box in efforts to appear equitable. Mr Acting President, in speaking to this motion, though, it is important that I do touch upon another contentious issue regarding women, one that many women around the state have spoken to me about in the time that I've been in this place. Mr Acting President, the truth is that radical gender theory is grounded in regressive stereotypes. It peddles the idea that you can become a woman simply by adopting stereotypical female traits. You can become a woman today simply by wearing a dress, liking the colour pink, or wearing some makeup, similar as trans activist Dylan Mulroney has done. Feminists have been fighting to abolish gendered stereotypes on how they dress, how they think, how they live, but in a perverse twist, proponents of radical gender theory, who claim to be on the side of the oppressed, are ultimately oppressing women. And many women who speak to me on this matter disagree with those who believe that being women can be transitioned into. They tell me that this belief affirms an offensive notion that womanhood can be picked and chosen rather than what it truly is, something that biological girls grow up with. This is happening just as the hard work of true feminist movement is beginning to yield results after many decades. The biggest victims of this radical gender ideology are women. And whilst there is much more work to do, we must acknowledge that we have more women in senior corporate roles, more women in politics, such as the Liberal side of this chamber, and we have more attention on women's sport, and governments now take the issue of domestic and family violence more seriously. I would like to extend my appreciation to all South Australian women for their contribution to the betterment of society, and most especially to those wonderful women who have made my life so much better because of their love, their empathy and their wisdom. Happy International Women's Day to all the women of South Australia. Mr Acting President, I commend the motion to the Chamber.